versus all y'all in Sports Talk 97.7 in North Louisiana. Filling you in on the football scene in the northern part of the boot. And appreciate Jared Roser. He's done an awesome job with Louisiana versus all y'all. Appreciate him including us in the great venture and being a part of the team at Louisiana versus all y'all. Let's start in North Louisiana in college football, where the story of the first 2 weeks has been ULM, actually. How many times have we been able to say that? The Warhawks off to a 2-0 start this season. They got a dominant victory over his former team, the UAB Blazers, last week, 32-6. He called this game like he was at UAB when Bill Clark was there, who I call kind of the father of UAB football. Bill Clark retires. UAB, Bryant Vincent's the interim coach, brings them to a bowl game, but they end up getting the job to Trent Dilfer. Obviously, you could say it's just one game. We know this game meant a lot more to Coach Vincent than just the next game on the schedule, but he has the ultimate respect for UAB. He says, we want to get ULM to where UAB was when we were there. And what a great start again, 32-6 victory over UAB. The Warhawks are led offensively by their quarterback, General Booty. Certainly, we know the Booty bloodlines here in North Louisiana. But through 2 weeks, haven't really had to use him through the air. The story's been the rushing attack and the defense. ULM's got three really good freshman backs, and Ahmad Hardy, a JUCO transfer, and James Jones, and UAB transfer, Tavin Curry. Defensively, they got a JUCO All-American and Billy Pullen. He had 13 sacks last year out of Mississippi at the junior college level, and he has picked off. He is an absolute dog on the outside. And then Whiteout Williams, who was an athlete at Lake Providence and Toriano Wells, was quarterback, was a safety at high school. He was at Delta State last season as a safety. He's coming to ULM starting right away, and he's had a monster 2 games for the Warhawks. Again, off to a 2-0 start. They are off this week, and then they've got the dubious task of playing at Texas next week. But a good start for the Warhawks. Grambling has a new coach, and if you follow high school football in the state, if you're watching this, you do. Mickey Joseph, head coach of Grambling, won his first game at Grambling last week, beating Tuskegee. First night game at Grambling since 2018. They now go on the road. It's going to get tougher. They take on Texas A&M Corpus Christi. This is the first matchup these two teams have ever squared off, ever. So, hence it being the first. And then Louisiana Tech. Tech gets by Nicholls State in week 1 of the season. Was actually already had a bye week in week number 2. Defensively, Louisiana looked really good against Nicholls State. In fact, they looked better against the Colonels than LSU did defensively. They got 6 sacks. Former LSU Tiger, former Rummel Raider Kobe Fields has been a huge addition. Had to sit out last year to this defense. He brings an element of speed at the linebacker position that team was missing. But offensively, Louisiana Tech was really bad in the win against Nicholls State. In fact, they turned it over 5 times. You're not going to win many football games when you turn it over 5 times. They did that night against the Colonels because they played so well defensively. It gets so much tougher this week. They're going up to Raleigh, North Carolina to take on an ACC team in NC State, although NC State hasn't looked great. They struggled versus Western Carolina. And, of course, they got their doors blown in against Tennessee last week. But NC State, a 3-touchdown favorite. Think about the Wolfpack. They got Grayson McCall, former Coastal Carolina standout quarterback. But also they, over the last, since 2021, they've got 53 interceptions over that time span. So that leads the country. There's some ball hawks back there in Raleigh. Finally, rough one for the Northwestern State Demons. They were on the road last night. One of only 2 college football games going on. Taking on South Alabama. They lost 87-10. You heard me correct. 87-10. Not to Alabama, to South Alabama. So it's been a tough start to Blaine McCorkle in his first season at head coach at Northwestern State. That's what's going on collegiately. High school games this week in North Louisiana. It's kind of a theme. There are 5 Louisiana versus Arkansas matchups, so kind of a border war here in North Louisiana. The biggest being West Monroe versus Pulaski Academy, which I believe is outside of Little Rock. If you don't know about Pulaski, well, they're 2-0 in the season, but over the last 10 years, they are 112-11 in the last 10 years. So they are an Arkansas power. They had their worst year in 10 years last year. They were 10-3. So the Rebels coming off a 47-6 win over Huntington last week. Certainly a litmus test for them going north of the border to take on Pulaski Academy. Really, really fine program. But the Rebels, and it's been a while since we've said this, certainly Ruston's been the talk of the area. Even Neville. West Monroe for the first time kind of flying under the radar in Coach Davis's official first season. So maybe that will play to their advantage. Again, a good litmus test for them this weekend when they take on Huntington. I just mentioned Ruston. Ruston is another team taking on an Arkansas team. It's Cabot, Arkansas. Cabot's 1-1 on the season. These two teams actually squared off last year. Ruston won that game 28-17. It was Ahmad Hudson's coming out party last season, so they'll square off in Ruston this year. A game that got put together on Tuesday. Calvary was supposed to host Westgate. Neville was supposed to take on Southside. Because of the hurricane, those two teams called it off. And kudos to Coach Goodwin at Calvary and Coach Collins at Neville for making this happen. This is arguably the best matchup in the state of Louisiana. Calvary, number 1 in Class 2A. Neville is number 7 in Class 5A. Calvary could score on anybody, scored 62 points last week in their win over a powerful Oak Grove team. Neville has got a new quarterback, Parker Robinson, a sophomore who transferred out of St. Frederick across town to Monroe. Had a really good start. Jalen Nichols had 150 yards, 3 touchdowns. I know Calvary could score on anybody. I am curious to see how they do with Neville leaning on them for 4 quarters, but that is a mega matchup. Some other matchups, Ouachita goes across town to take on Wassman. Wassman was one of the stories in our area last year. St. Frederick, I just mentioned Chip Bilderback, new coach at St. Fred's. They won a mud bowl last. It was an absolute monsoon in their game last Thursday. They beat Loyola 8-6. They are definitely going up and testing themselves this week. They're taking on Franklin Parish, who beat West Jeff last week 51-0. This might be the best team that Franklin Parish has had in years, and they took a really big step last season. I mentioned Bastrop earlier. They beat Wassman last week. Tank Washington, the former Carroll coach, the former Ole Miss star, has done a great job up in Morehouse Parish. They got a couple players transferred in from Sterlington, the Downs brothers. They've made a huge difference. This is not the Bastrop of old, but this is still a really, really good Bastrop team. And don't be shocked if they don't make a run in the playoffs this season. Benton at Airline. If you haven't seen Airline yet, they might be the most entertaining team in Louisiana. It is arena football. Their quarterback, Ben Taylor, throws for like 500 yards a game. They've got receivers everywhere. They score a lot of points. They give up a lot of points, but Airline is absolutely worth the price of admission. Airline is hosting Benton tonight. Finally, Ash makes the trip from Central Louisiana to North Louisiana to take on Union. Of course, Ash, JT Lindsay, they've got talent everywhere. They take on Joe Spatafor and the Fighting Farmers, the reigning non-select D3 state champions. Farmers lost to North DeSoto last week. They always play a very tough non-district schedule. Don't be surprised when the regular season ends if they're not 6-4, 5-5, but certainly expect Union, because they play such a schedule like they do, iron sharpens iron, to be ready for the postseason. That's what they do. They make runs. For Louisiana versus all y'all, the North Louisiana edition at Sports Talk 97.7. Thanks for watching. I'm Sean Fox.